Welcome to the Texas Goat Radio Show. I'm your host, Beartaria. This is part 14 of the 1782 live stream by Owen Benjamin.
The common solution, I think that most people's minds go to accomplish this, is for folks to pool together resources with other trusted bears for some land, with the intention of parceling it out to form a small private commune. I personally find this to be ideal if the circumstances are available, but I think that for a lot of people, this is either too expensive an option or maybe a bit too intimidating, risky to consider. I actually don't recommend it unless you really know the people well or it's family. I think there's so many pitfalls to communal.
He doesn't recommend it because then he would be held accountable by the people that have given him money. And that's one of the reasons for the bear names. It's one of the reasons why he does not participate in the bear gatherings. It's one of the reasons why he has yet to have anybody to actually camp on the land that are not working for free. The inner circle, one of the reasons why he is doing his, it's the equivalent to his apostles, but it's I can't remember the name of it. I think there's only 8 of them. Oh, for the life. What is it? Anyways, y'all know what I'm talking about. The one that he wants people to fight for. It's the next level to a bear. It's like Scientology type levels of commitment.
Buying of land, and this coming from someone with a lot of experience about this. It's like a marriage. Unless you can really set up a system that works. It's, you know, if you go to a bear meetup and you meet a guy or something and you like come up with this and you try this out, it can suck if it's not the right people. You know, BB, when was the ghost town takeover an option? That sounds awesome. I just know truthers talk about that, and I don't want to do that.
No, that's what the original. See, he could have been honest. He was just asked what was and this is somebody that does not know the origins of Beartaria. When was that? And that's one of that question right there is very precise to where he could have. And that's one of the reasons why I think that there's a possibility that there are trolls that are inside of Beartaria, inside of the cult. Because he could have said, well, the original land scheme, the original investment scheme was for $2 million for this ghost town type of thing. 200 plus acres, buildings that were already made, ghost town scenario. And he's actively staying away from being open and honest and transparent. Right here, this is proof whenever he says that he is the most authentic, the most transparent. And for any bear out there that questions what we're saying whenever we're calling him out on this horse hockey, this right here, he had an opportunity to be open and honest, but he wants to be so far away from that original the Beartaria scheme, the land scheme, the investment scheme, that he refuses to be honest about it.
At all. Because running a town is really hard, and you don't want to do it, and then when you fail, it could get really dark. I think it's, guys, I've ran every scenario, and I've actually thought about this a lot, is the best scenario is you develop this like community within the system where you don't antagonize the system, you still profit from the system and work with the system, but you just keep growing your culture and your community. If you take
that's the best scenario for him because he has to have people that are actually working. He has to have people that actually have jobs that give him money because if he took all of his bears and went to that 200 acres, nobody would actually be working. They would actually have to be living off of the land, and he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to camp. He wants to glamp. Glamorous camping is what he wants.
Over a ghost town, who's going to do the municipalities? Like, just me setting up Ursa Rio and Ursa Ozarks is way harder than you think. I mean, thank God I have a great crew of very highly resourceful people that donate their time and resources.
It's way harder because that's what he wanted. It was a self-sabotage job is what that is. Because it was originally just camping. After, like I said earlier, if you move past the original Beartaria scheme, the land scheme, the 200 acres with the buildings already there, what he promised was camping. You don't need buildings to camp. You don't. So it's by design.
And all this stuff. But if you just take over a ghost town, I mean, it's so hard to like set it all up. This is why I'm not mad at the system because I know how hard it is. Just setting up an electric grid, plumbing. How do you figure out? This is where taxes come from. So let's say your plumbing doesn't work. And someone's like, well, you know, we all want plumbing. We should all chip in. And one guy's like, I don't want to chip in. And you're like, then you don't get to use the plumbing. How does that work? Have you ever really thought through how a government operates? This is why taxes are mandatory because let's say you're like, although I don't believe in land tax, and I don't.
Taxes are good. Taxes are good. That's one of the reasons why I said what I said earlier about churches, 501(c)(3)s. Nobody should be able to get away from paying taxes unless you make unless you're an individual or a family that makes less than a certain amount. That's the only reason. Now, obviously, that's a matter of conversation. I'm not saying that that should be it. I mean, I am, but I'm not saying that I know for a fact that's the only way that it could work. I'm just saying that there's other ways of doing it. But taxes are good. Now, the fact that your dollar is taxed 30 times between the time that you earn it, or between the time that it's given to you and the time that you actually spend the last penny of it, that's insane. But
guys, the school tax is actually odd. Because what schools actually are is like welfare programs for kids. It's actually like daycare for kids. It's not education. And you could make an argument that it's a communal cost for somebody to take care of everybody's kids. Paul wouldn't chip in, he just shits in the streets. You will need an equity management AR. Dude, you immediately develop a government. You immediately develop like a tax collecting system.
Like I've said multiple times, I have no idea what I'm talking about. So take that for what it is.
That requires force. This is why anarcho-capitalists are such retards. They've never thought about it. They'll drive into the desert with Burning Man with drugs and orgies, and they think that that's freedom, that that's what life would be like without a government. It's totally not. Public school is not valuable. I completely agree. I homeschool all my kids, but what are you going to do with two working parents without any way of raising their kids?
And I'm pretty sure whenever he says he homeschools his kids, he sends his kids to private school. Right? His wife isn't inside of his house teaching his children, all four of his kids. I could be wrong about that. I have no idea. That just seems to be because he's very across the board whenever he talks about the homeschooling. It seems as though what he means is that he sends them to private school.
What do? You fire all the women? You don't have any replacement yet. You haven't developed the infrastructure with the population that can take those jobs. Imagine if like every woman with kids had to be home with their kids all day and couldn't work. I agree, that sounds like a better world, but who do you get to work those jobs? Mexicans? Like, what do you do? So think about every woman in your life with kids that has a job and she requires her kids to go to school in order for her to work. Let's say you're managing a city, just a nation state of 300 acres, like an old school Italian nation state. This is why I'm all about, being within being in the world but not of it. Like we're in the system but doing our own thing because we're so far away from that ability. These system things that they're doing were a response to issues that come from bad morality of a population. He's
finally breaking that spell that he cast 3 years ago, I think, is what he's doing. Because that's what the original Beartaria land scheme was them living off him presenting a safety net in case. So much so, the spell is so thick for that there is an active bear in the comment section of these videos saying stuff along the lines of, whenever society collapses, y'all are going to be doing this and we're going to be doing this. And so there's still active bears that still believe in the spellcraft that Owen put forth into the ether 3 years ago.
You can't just say all women shouldn't work. Okay, well, who's going to have that job at the DMV? Who's going to drive that bus? Who's going to be that nurse? Who's going to be that orthopedic surgeon? And everyone's like, well, I don't know. It's just women should be with their children. It's like, I agree, but you don't have the labor force to replace them right now. Karma Warlock, all my neighbors are anarchy bug out types and they're all suing each other over an easement dispute. They couldn't even make living next to each other work. Totally, dude. Totally. I've seen that over. Look at Squirted Stone. Squirted Stone couldn't resolve.
I was watching the Made by Jim Bob show the other day. I can't remember what day it was. Probably Monday. Today's Wednesday. And he had a good point. He was talking to somebody. I wish I could remember who he was talking to, but they were speculating about cults in Canada and how many cults there might be and whatever, and because of them being so nice. And I think it was Jim Bob that made the point that one of the reasons why cults aren't so predominant the way they used to be in the United States is because of the narcissistic mentality of the majority of the population, because everybody feels as though they deserve to be a leader of a cult or whatever. It was quite an interesting episode.
An issue with a relatively friendly, funny guy.
And just to throw this out there, Owen was rarely even brought up.
Like, he had to go. He's like the Bridezilla of homesteading. That's what should be on Curtis Stone's website. The Bridezilla of homesteaders. He'll go fucking crazy. All right. FYI, daily reminder that I survived the Holocaust. Me too, Long Island Jew Bear. Me too. Yeah, and so although if you can make it work, God bless. Like, if you can get some guys together and go in on land, and you can have your shared area, and you parcel it off. I mean, the way that I think that it would work the best is, let's say you want 10 acres, but you can't afford 10 acres, but you and 9 other guys can't afford 100 acres that can be divided into 10-acre parcels. If you can legally do that, great. But if you...
How does that make any sense? If you want to get 10 acres and you can't afford 10 acres, but you and 10 other guys can come together and buy 100 acres, that way you can divide it up into 10 acres. I mean, I understand you might be able to get a discount with the quantity, whatever. But, I mean, if they're selling acres for $1,000 an acre, I don't know.
Guys are functioning like, yeah, we both know we didn't go to the moon. You know, we get it. And it's like...
This is the Texas Goat Radio Show, and I'm your host, Beartaria. As always, till next time.